Hey everyone, it's KnightFighter22. Just gonna show a quick game that I played against Bailiesgamert, which was from Great Britain, and he was like a platinum member. So I'm just gonna show this game, which consisted of like standard King's Pawn stuff and the chess things. So I'm KnightFighter22. I was rated 975 and I was playing black. So he starts with e4, and I play e5. He goes knight to f3 and knight to c6. So like, along with the Sicilian, this is probably like one of the most common chess setups in history, and you know, it's pretty cool. So he goes Italian opening, and I could have played symmetrically here, but I attacked his pawn with knight to f6, and I believe this is Berlin defense or something like that. I think it might be Berlin defense, but please excuse me if I'm wrong. I'm not very good at openings. So he goes knight to c3. As I said again, I could have played bishop to f5, sorry, c5. Symmetricalizing the position, but instead I just played my bishop up to b4 in case he had ideas for d3. Then this knight is pinned, maybe double up his pawns, but I do prefer bishops to knights in the opening generally, but this might be a closed board, so knights might be better, so I might want to trade off that bishop to the knight. Also, my square on d5 is weakened, and after the knight's traded off I can play d5. Okay, so he plays h3, a pretty passive move, but these kind of moves come in handy after you have bishops and knights there, attacking maybe this weak h2 or f2 square. So I castle kingside, and then he swings his knight down to g5 a bit aggressively. I think he's looking at h7, or possibly he could play f7 here, and he could trade the rook and the bishop and the knight off for the rook. So knight takes, rook takes, bishop takes, king takes, and with the queen still on the board, that would be a pretty good line for him. So I figure I have to do something on the queen side if he's attacking on the king side. So I just play a6 with the idea of b5, like thrusting up this pawn and expanding, because I want to get this bishop off this very powerful square which he has him on c4. And I probably regret moving my bishop to f5 a little bit here, because as I said, the position's fairly symmetrical even though I didn't do exactly the same moves. So then he plays a3, and I play bishop to a5, and I guessed he'd play b4. And I could have played the bishop back to b6 here, but I just think he would probably trap it, and I wanted to carry on with my plan. So I just go b5 here, attacking his bishop, and he moves bishop back to b3, and I move bishop back to b6. So we both, on the queen side, definitely, it's completely symmetrical. On the king side, it's pretty similar as well. So he castled king side, and now I swing my knight up to the very strong outpost of c4. Also have an idea of bishop to b7, rook to c8, and then c5, making it very strong. Possibly ideas for d5 as well in the future, because this knight's undefended, and once the knight takes, it's attacked by the queen. So he goes d3, just solidifying his position. Remember that bishop's no longer there, pinning the knight, and the king's castled, so there's no threat there. Bishop to b7, so I got these two bishops bearing down on his kingside position. He goes bishop to e3. So the idea is to trade off the bishops and to double up the pawns. But here I just play d5, expanding on the central control here. So we have knight takes on d5, and then knight takes on d5. And here it's a little bit weird because he plays queen to h5. He's thinking, wow, I've got this checkmate threat, and then I'm going to win his knight with a very strong bishop on f7, and I have all these pieces pointing on f7. But the problem with that move is I'm going to just move my knight back to f6, attacking the queen, and also is defending the h7 pawn, which he is targeting. And f7, even though the bishop's got f7, he has just lost a piece. So he swings the queen back to h4 now, and f7's no longer a threat. And then I go knight takes on, knight takes on b3, and c takes on b3. And then I take the bishop on e3, and f takes on e3. So he now has two sets of doubled up pawns, and I'm not a big fan of his pawn structure here, like all in clusters. It might be quite useful to, you know, smash up the d file in this situation. And it is like a slight pawn thrust, you know, but it's not really the kind of pawn structure I like. So yeah, I think I'm a pawn down in this position, yeah, because you've got 8 versus 7, so I'm a pawn down in this position. But as I said, he is a piece down, so 2 points difference. h6, knight to f3, and I would have played g5, expanding on the center here, but it's not very good because my e-pawn is undefended. So I just swing the rook on to c8, developing my plan with c5. He goes rook from a to d1. Good idea, aligning rook with black queen. Probably going to play d4 in the future with all these pieces protecting it. And I just play rook to e8 now, defending that pawn. So he goes a4, and there's nothing really better to do than to take. Sorry, no, I don't take. I go ahead and play c5, and now he takes, and then I take. So a takes b5, a takes b5, and then b takes on c5, and rook takes on c5. And now he goes b4, attacking my rook, so I swing it up to c3, trying to get some compensation on that e3 pawn before I can move up to e4. He takes my knight on e5, and then I swing my knight back to d7 because I don't want this knight anyway, so I want to try and trade it off. He takes the pawn on f7, so that's supported by the rook, and I take the queen on h4, and then he goes rook to f3, and then I can swing my knight up to f5, and he's pretty much forced to trade knights, so knight takes, and I'm in a winning position now. So he goes d4, but I just bishop takes on e4, so try and get as much material as I can. So rook to f4, rook to f5, and again there's not much he can do to save that rook. He goes rook from f to d1, rook takes f4, e takes f4, and then rook to c2, attacking the g2 pawn. And once this g2 pawn crumbles, then queen can take on h3, and that's pretty much my plan. But he just goes f5, thinking I've got to promote, but it's a mistake, because obviously, you guys will be able to see the checkmate line from here. Rook takes on g2, he can do nothing but move his king to h1, to the h file, because obviously this rook's protecting both squares, it's supported by the bishop. So king to h1, and then rook to h3 is mate. So yeah, it was a pretty good game, one that I enjoyed playing very much, and I hope you enjoyed the video. I'm going to try and post some more of my games in the future, and not just live blitz chess. But if you guys prefer the live blitz, then please let me know. So thank you for watching very much. I've been KnightFighter22, and I wish you good luck with your chess, and I'll see you next time. Bye!